We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning. Fall weather is here. I've got a beanie on. It's actually the comfortable weather in a studio like this because I like it chilly, number one. I like it a little bit cool, guys. And then I don't have to worry about the room overheating with all the gear. Because in the summertime, even where the central air is, it goes right out the window basically. And I don't have the windows open, but it's right next to that. And basically, it doesn't get the rest of the room cool at all. I end up sweating on air. TMI, maybe. But we're going 2 minutes early for those that are not watching over at RVMRumble.com out of the gates or any of their platforms. Because of the encoder over there, and you'll actually get a whole another 120 seconds, 2 minutes of Bermas, as we're still going to cut it second hour in at 55 after. So let's get into it, because I know we have a zombie puppet in there, and it's something that we hone in on all the time because we can't help it, because it's so embarrassing. And it's not only embarrassing, it's dangerous. It's letting you guys know, and the rest of us, where we're at as a society. It's not a good place. It's not a good place. On the backside of that, the classified documents case with Biden is what I think will ultimately be at least the public undoing of how he steps down, because I also believe they're going full force on Trumpsky and Hutch. Right? A lot of people are delusional and think because that case is in Florida, somehow he's going to get a fair shake. I don't see it. I see is that really their coup de grace, because that adds the extra layer that he's a treasonous snake. Trump's a treasonous snake. And the repercussions of that will be that Joe Biden, in order to forego a trial that would be embarrassing to America, be very embarrassing. We've already done so much. We need to heal. Ends up stepping down because of this. And look, as I've said before, the guy can't talk, right? We just had that story out there with that mainstream journalist who was on Club Random, who interviewed Joe Biden and admitted on camera he couldn't finish sentences. Obviously, it was heavily edited, et cetera, et cetera. Biden was interviewed by the special counsel probing mishandling of classified documents at his home on Sunday and Monday. Okay? So first of all, you know that he had lawyers surrounding him. One. Number two, he was probably heavily prepped for this, where the statements he would make were ones like, I cannot recall, et cetera, guaranteed down the line. guaranteed establishment answers down the line. But that's going to be tough for him because he's not really mentally there. So they've worked on this with him probably for weeks. They probably hyped him up again on as many amphetamines as they could for these 2 days. The questions themselves, I can't speak to because I wasn't there, but probably softball in comparison to like the wide-ranging stuff that they've gone after Trump with, right? And the two cases aren't even comparable. I'll say it again. President Trump was the president. He had every right to take those documents. He took those documents with the assistance of the government. They basically set him up, and he had them under lock and key, Secret Service around him all the time, yada, yada, yada. In the other case, and by the way, he has the right to declassify any documents he wants because he's the president of the United States. That's how it used to work. Apparently not anymore. Then we have Joe Biden, who has all these documents as the vice president of the United States and does not have the authority to just take them or declassify them at that point. Does that matter to anybody? Bueller, anybody. Not in the post-truth world, but they realize it's a great setup. Corvette, Jet Set, and Joe, right? So I believe this is going to be a backdoor. If you notice, I do use the Daily Mail a lot, but you're not seeing this everywhere. And let me just show you how the mainstream media is handling this right now. It's mostly with kid gloves, just letting you know, hey, this is happening. It's in the background. Let's distract you from it for now, but it can resurface later. Okay? And look, the fact of the matter is, he just had Netanyahu over. Just had a sit down with him where, I mean, again, he's really not all there. Netanyahu's still really sharp, really vicious. And I assure you, when they do roll out the statement, it's going to be bad and as establishment as it gets. And that's all I've really been hearing, mainline or otherwise. In fact, I've got this clip of Kevin McCarthy, who just got ousted as speaker, sitting down with Ryan Nobles, who I actually personally know. I haven't talked to him in 20 years, or probably less than 20, but still close to that. But yeah, I mean, I guess he just made the move from CNN to NBC. See how lateral the mainstream media is? Same type of talking points, same Johnny nonsense, and it's partisan politics at its most disgusting, and it's mainline politics at its most absurd. Because I'm going to show you what it means for the military-industrial complex. Great times. Obviously, you saw Disney in the thumbnail. That's the other lead story we're going to get into in a second. But first, I want to play this clip. Again, this is how the media is handling the Biden classified documents. Less than a 30-second soundbite. Less than a 30-second. They emphasize he voluntarily sat down. Okay? If this were Trump, you'd get a 30-second teaser every 15 minutes. There'd be a panel discussion on it. Once again, it shows you that it's not even a double standard. It shows you the ridiculousness, the absurdity, and really the overlying narrative and agenda that is being pushed by the predator class. Push. All right, here's Biden covered. This is NBC.
And on a night of breaking news right now, we have even more to tell you about. Turns out this weekend, President Joe Biden was interviewed in the special counsel investigation into classified documents. Now, Robert Hur, who is the special counsel in this case, is looking into how classified documents ended up at Biden's home and an office. A White House spokesman says the interview was totally voluntary and took place at the White House yesterday and Monday. The interview was reportedly arranged weeks ago, but ended up taking place as Biden was focused on fighting in the Middle East.
See, again, here's the absurdity that I want you to believe. So I told you that obviously they gave him weeks, if not months, to prepare for this. Okay, they're not fast tracking anything on Joe Biden. They're waiting it out, biding their time for this 2024 selection cycle. They don't want debates. They don't want opposition to the party. I actually have the RFK Jr. 50-minute speech. I don't know if we're going to even get to any of it. Maybe we'll get to part of it in the first hour, because the second hour is really where I want to get into the Disney war propaganda that we're all about to get, that we've really been getting for a long time, especially in this fifth generation warfare where it's a war on us. Okay? But Biden, again, he's focused on like a turkey sandwich or tying his shoes or jogging a little bit to somebody. That's what he's focused on. He's not focused on the Middle East and fighting there. Okay? He's going to sign off on whatever. Now, they might have him, again, focused on trying to read a pre-delivered message. He's certainly not going to go live in front of a press conference unless he's not taking questions afterwards. And if he is, you know they got him on the good stuff. They got him on the good stuff. All right. So, I guess before we shift over to Disney really quickly, I'd be remiss if I didn't put this out there. Joe Biden's younger brother, Frank, admits naked selfie on Guys with iPhones, which is a gay dating site, is genuine, but says his phone got hacked. Dude's 64, okay, and it was uploaded in 2018, or no, I'm sorry. So he's 69 now. I'm sorry. The photo was from when he was 64. Jacked for 64, all the TRT in the world. We won't go beyond the belt line, even though it's out there. Who knows? Who cares? It just shows you how ridiculous, again, the dark cartoon is. And that's where we're at. Joe Biden's younger brother in that. This is more important. Activist Peltz wants multiple seats at Disney owns $2.5 billion stake in the Mouse House. So this guy, Nelson Peltz is his name, is planning a new board challenge at Disney. Less than 10 months after the home of Mickey Mouse laid out plans that addressed his criticism. But with Disney's stock price down 30% since then, the 82-year-old billionaire investor is now expected to ask the company for multiple board seats, including one for himself, a person familiar with the matter, said on Monday. So this guy, Tryon Fund Management owns $2.5 billion in it, or 30 million shares. 30 million shares. Okay. This is part of the techno-fascistic military-industrial complex takeover in every way, shape, and form. In the second hour, because I know that we can't do it in the first hour without getting taken down. I don't even know how this channel exists. Normally, I would download all these videos and just have them rounded up for you. But I figured I'd let you know. Because again, it's all about selective enforcement in YouTube. The military took over Disney during World War II, just like openly. I've talked about their partnership for years and the Hollyweird partnership with intelligentsia, and really how some starlets were honeypots and spies because they had access globally back in the Disney. Maybe today. Don't know it. Maybe they don't know it. I mean, the MK Ultra thing is as real as it gets. However, back then, they went in there. They had their own little division. And you can see all these shorts. I know I've played the Donald Duck one, The Fuhrer's Face. This is it right here, the song. That's just the song. Maybe see, there it is. Donald gets drafted. So it looks like some of these made it into that. But look at this list. All the way down. They produced more than 36 unavailable videos are hidden. Interesting. So there's 6 of these that are gone. I wonder if they got taken down. But this is all WW2 run propaganda. Now, Disney was big then, very influential then. And although a lot of people say, well, they're not really as influential now, there's niche stuff everywhere, there's competition, they own everything. They own the Star Wars property. They own the Simpsons property. Even the media that they do not own, they advertise on constantly. Constantly. They own ESPN. I mean, you wonder why ESPN's not so focused on sports anymore? And it's more focused on politics, identity politics, and division in particular? That's why. That's why. And this guy stepping in here wanting more board seats under the guise of them not being as profitable and going down the tubes is really under a guise, because at the end of the day, the capital investment doesn't really matter. In other words, the fiat currency that it's worth right now doesn't really matter. It's the resources. You can take a financial hit. When they do take a financial hit like that, it makes it easier to take more control over, right? Absolutely, 100%. So right now, where you have Ukraine, Russia, you have Israel, Palestine, and things are heating up, and the rhetoric, McCarthy uses this rhetoric as well. A lot of them are talking about this. Since our borders are wide open, this means we could have sleeper cells everywhere. And I want to talk about that on the other side. In the second hour, we're going to go down the line on those propaganda videos and give our commentary and show you how Disney's intertwined. We got a ton of videos on this end, and we got a bunch of other articles that I want to read and go through. But I think this is a real issue, because if you think you've been propagandized before, right? Think about how many people just jumped on board. And I wouldn't say lemmings, because that's actually another Disney creation, which we'll go over after this word from our sponsor.
We interrupt today's programming to bring unfortunate news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. So take action now. The Federal Reserve's phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard and put your hard-earned assets in jeopardy. But here's the good news. There's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Speak to someone at American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Dial 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Call 833, the number 2 USA Gold. Yes, call now, 833-287-2465. Act swiftly, 833-287-2465.
Thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Second hour over at rvmrumble.com, rvmrumble.com. And when we look at the media sphere right now and how many people are just okay with the fact or not mentioning the fact that the retaliation for what is an obviously horrific act, okay, obviously horrific. Some of the, again, very hard for me to watch. I was having the conversation with my brother yesterday, and it's like I couldn't even watch the more graphic stuff because it was all turning my stomach. And it was turning my stomach not only because of the event that was occurring there, which is sickening, but I knew what would follow, and what is to follow is more death and destruction. That's it. I don't like death. I don't like seeing kids die. I don't like seeing men, women, and children die. I don't. I think it's, I get my stomach turns just thinking about it. And the idea that Israel can come out the next day and punish 2 million people, 2 million, who, in my opinion, have already been quite punished just because of the situation in which they were born unto. Because the vast majority of those people were born in, I don't know how many people are really choosing to go live in Palestine. Okay? But we're going to just cut the power. We're going to cut the fuel. We're going to cut the communications. And we're going to carpet bomb your ass. Wow. Yeah. And by the way, the comparisons to 9/11, and one of the reasons I talked about it yesterday is because those are real. Those are real comparisons. Okay? And before we go to that, I want to show everybody this. Major weapons manufacturer stock prices are all surging. They're clearly anticipating a killing off of all the killing. Let me show you this. Okay? See this? Look at that spike. Look at that. Wham! Bam! That's a nice little bam. That's a spikles. Look at that. Boom. Oh, we're ready. Up 29% over here. Yeah, there we go. Just spiking, spiking, spiking. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it on back. That's only a 7.25%. My heart's really going out to all that spiking. By the way, 16 of the largest 25 U.S. Arms manufacturers also profit from the prison industrial complex. All right? Which, unfortunately, look, there's not a lot of reformation going on there. Another huge issue. And are some people beyond redemption? Maybe. I understand that. I understand there are some people that have done things that should never be let back into society. 100%. 100%. However, we've all now seen firsthand in our face sometimes how the injustice system works. The injustice system. And obviously, in my opinion, if you're in there for any kind of like marijuana charge, you should be out of there. Blue collar crimes, yikes. It depends, but you see how those are selectively prosecuted and how they work out. And how many times it's really just who you know and who you were doing crooked deals with, right? Where was it? I had quite a few more stories on this thing. Where is it? That's what I wanted to go to. The truth about that? No. We're talking about Israel and 9/11. Where is it? Come on. Let's see. Nikki Haley? No. And by the way, they're pushing Haley. Here it is right here. Boom. We do it live. We do it live. Mark Ahman, the savagery displayed by Hamas will change the world more than 9/11 did. Now China and Russia will move to seize the advantage. When I hear things like this, and I see full articles like this, I'm paying attention. And you know what? Netanyahu said what's about to be done is going to resonate for generations. Netanyahu, resonate for generations. Let's see. Let's see. Right here. Action will echo for generations. Here it is right. It is. I did get the, man, sometimes I literally doubt myself, but I knew I read that headline. It will resonate for generations to come. That's not, so what's already happened in that conflict between Israel and Palestine hasn't resonated for generations to come? I can't remember a time where there wasn't turmoil in that region of the world. I mean, seriously, think about that. It's not a great look. Okay? It's just, man, I just pray to the good Lord above that somehow this can de-escalate. That somehow, some way, we can have free and fair elections in this country again. That we can have accountability. And when I listen to this Kevin McCarthy mushmouth nonsense with Ryan Nobles about, I mean, basically they jack into like the guys, how could we, historically, you be ousted? You know, the Democrats, and by the way, he mentions that all the Democrats voted to oust McCarthy. But that's something that you don't really even hear. And then 96% of Republicans voted to keep me in. That means about 96% of them need to go. And by the way, people like Boebert voted to keep man. No, he needed to go. I'm sick of all this. We're going to say one thing. We're going to promise everybody one thing. You're going to get the January 6th tapes. And then no. And not only do we not get the January 6th tapes, but not only does the public not get it, but I want to tell you, these trials they had were show trials where they weren't allowed to present their own evidence once again. So that's why you need to present the evidence in the court of public opinion that they can't present in a courtroom. I had on the other show, just interviewed Lee Dundas for an hour. Famous lawyer, somebody who was practicing law at a very young age. And she admitted, not only admitted, emphasized the fact that going into a rigged courtroom was essentially useless and had less of an effect than shooting commercials and buying billboards and putting these people on blast in the court of public opinion and then approaching them in a public forum or meeting. That's and basically publicly shaming those that would ignore reality is what's effective. It is what's effective. All right? That's what we need to understand. And when people come out and start being effective against the great narrative, the first thing they do is try to discredit them, demonize them, right? Say that they have no idea what they're talking about, et cetera, et cetera. When that doesn't work, then they go after you legally with lawfare. Okay, and then you can become kind of like a scapegoat later. Again, I look at what I had Tario's mother on, Zuni Tario, yesterday on the other show. And I'm sorry, her son serving 22 years in prison, whether you like him or not, whether you like the Proud Boys or not, whether you like MAGA politics or not, okay? He didn't deserve a day in prison for what happened in January 6th. Not a day. He wasn't there. There was no insurrection. There was no pre-plan to storm the Capitol and disrupt democracy. That's imagination land. And now you can get decades in prison for that imagination land. And this is going to be this Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is going to go well beyond a conflict. They're already prepping you for some kind of, again, Donnie T's talking about it as well, a terror attack within the United States. They're prepping you for it. Some sort of event. In fact, that was another story that we needed to go over quickly. All right, because the hysteria is also going to be here. Man claiming to have a suicide bomb on Santa Monica Pier Ferris wheel is yanked down by cops after he sparked an evacuation and left families with kids stranded in midair as tensions are heightened in the wake of the Israeli terror attack. So look, you do have all these people that have had complete unfettered access through the border, many of which, again, we've gone over this, aren't from Mexico, aren't even from South America, are literally coming from around the world. And when you have sleeper cells, a lot of the times that these units, they have no idea that they're actually assets. None. They're being handled by somebody, maybe 1 in 10 that make their way here actually know they're an asset of some type of a black program. And then the other 9 guys are following that one guy. You see how it works? It's 100% what was going on with 9/11. It really does seem like Atta was in the know, along with a couple other of these guys, and was helping to run whatever operations were going on pre 9/11 to sustain them. Because every time you do the scratch and sniff test on these people, there's drugs, there's guns. Let me repeat that. There's drugs and there's guns. Sometimes there's women too. Just, again, we talk about the sex trafficking. They're very, very lucrative businesses. Okay? And that's why I often point to Iran-Contra, where the mask was lifted a little bit, and you got to peer beyond the veil, and you saw, oh, okay, this is what's actually going down. Because that network was never really broken up. And that network was very much a part of that same Epstein network. Okay? When we're talking about black projects, a lot of this stuff overlaps. Talking about real life espionage. Okay? So we're about to go to break. Can we get the thumbs up? Can we get, no matter what you're watching on, whether it's a Rumble, whether it's over on the YouTubans, can we get the thumbs up, subscribe, and share? Stagnant on growth on everything. I want to remind everybody, RVMRumble.com is where the second hour lives, uncensored and free. And then if you do want to support redvoicemedia.com/uncensored to get my premium interviews and content, and take a break. We're going to come back after this, and I think we're going to do the McCarthy video, maybe the Ramaswamy, but the Ramaswamy's audio is extremely difficult. Back after this.
When I invented MyPillow, my passion was to help each and every one of you. And 20 years later, all of your support is what keeps us going. Because of you, we've been able to create thousands of USA jobs and help millions get the best sleep ever. To thank you, my employees and I are bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with my patented adjustable fill, the most amazing cotton, and a 2-inch pipe gusset. It has 4 custom loft levels, machine washable and dryable, and you get my 60-day money-back guarantee and 10-year warranty.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, get a queen size MyPillow for only $19.98.
From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
So, I need to point out this piece of inconvenient history before we get further into this whole conflict. This is my man, Richard Andrew Grove. Photo 1 is the original draft from Lord Rothschild in the to the British government. Here it is. Here's the original draft. Let's read it. Number 1, His Majesty's government accepts the principle that Palestine should be reconstituted as the national home of the Jewish people. 2, His Majesty's government will use its best endeavors to secure the achievement of this object and will discuss the necessary methods and means with the Zionist organization. Now, back then, really, Zionism's main goal was to create this new Jewish nation state, a.k.a. Israel. All right, that's really what the definition was, but later on, obviously, that definition changes. So, number 2, and this is the Balfour Declaration. There's also the Havara or Transfer Agreement, which is another highlight of this collusion. And another example, by the way, why there's no reason we should have royalty, whether it be British or otherwise. Again, oligarchs making decisions, bad news brown happens. Bad news brown. Continuous bad news brown. So the second one here is this. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the cabinet. This is 1917, by the way. His Majesty's government view with the favor of the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. It being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine or the rights of the political statutes enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. So, when you look at this, essentially what it's saying is, yeah, you can do it. We're going to do it, but we're not going to infringe on anybody's rights there. That's obviously not what occurred. But it also didn't really just occur right after that, which upset these people because they wanted that. And really, it wasn't until after World War II in which that was solidified. Took many, many years. Many, many years. That's a document over 100 years ago. People don't have the attention span of 100 seconds. That's right. Minute 40, tough on people sometimes now. So they don't know their history at all. At all. All right. I said I'd do the McCarthy video. I'm ranting. I know it's reality rants. Let's do it. Right here.
Joining me on set is California Republican Kevin McCarthy, who until last week served as the Speaker of the House. So, Mr. McCarthy, today you held a press conference where you outlined a 5-point plan to deal with the situation in Israel. And I do want to get to that. But first...
So, you know, in mainstream news fashion, they have an agenda to frame the situation as completely and totally hopeless because there's no Speaker of the House. And of course, NBC wants to frame it as these radical Republicans. I got Arnold Schwarzenegger basically talking about total open borders, yada, yada, just no accountability whatsoever, fast-tracked visas for people who already work here, basically citizenship, which they've basically given people anyway. You just want to make it legal, just sign off on it. No vetting whatsoever. Meanwhile, 20 years plus ago, they scared the shit out of all of us and said, if you see something, say something. And you need to take off your shoes. And now you need to go through x-ray machines. And now you have to do a slave walk at the airport. But I can't help it every time I see Ryan. So just for those to understand what my connection to Ryan Nobles, it's not much of one. That's not like I know the guy in depth. But I grew up in a little place called Fort Plain, New York. And one of my friends that was in my friend group who I actually took to the prom senior year was my friend's, her sister married this guy. And they were both on the local news together. So, and at the time, I think that he left the local news. And this is how disingenuous all these people are. That they're just... Talk about social media clout chasers. Think about social climbers within the political and media establishment because they're pretty much one and the same. He dropped out of doing local news as I think a failed campaign for Congress as a Republican. Might have been state senator, but I think he tried to run for Congress. Don't quote me on that. But then went back to the news, got a gig with CNN. I thought he was still with CNN. Now he's with NBC. But remember, the frame up here always is more war, support for Israel. How are we going to do that when you have these rogues in the Republican Party who've taken you out? How are we going to have more war, Kevin?
Do you have any unique insight into what's happening in Israel? Are you still being briefed despite the fact that you are no longer Speaker of the House?
I'm not briefed because I'm no longer Speaker, so I don't do the Gang of Eights. But I've had a long relationship and history with Israel. So those like the Speaker of the House there, I'm talking to those in the Knesset, I'm talking to the ambassadors. So, and those are on the ground and serving in the military itself. I'm speaking to them. So I know firsthand what has transpired. From the moment I came into Congress, I have always led every term the Republicans over there to Israel to understand the differences. And I even made it bipartisan with Steny Hoyer. My first international trip as speaker was to Israel to speak for the 75th anniversary of the creation of Israel in the Knesset, only the second speaker ever to do that. And I was supposed to lead the Republicans at the end of this month there as well. This is devastating.
So once again, obviously McCarthy is about as pro-Israel and can't wait to brag about it as it gets. And the 5-point plan is basically we're going to give them whatever they want militarily. Now, do you not think that opens us up as a target? Of course. And Nobles later tries to seize upon that. And he says, well, you don't have any real evidence of that. There's no evidence of sleeper cells. Look, I'm going to say it again, like I said yesterday. There's no way in hell that this was an intelligence, quote-unquote, failure. There's no way. In fact, it's already coming out, I believe, that the Germans, in fact, let's do it live. Did Germany warn Israel of Germany warned Israel of attack? Let's see if that comes up. Yeah. It's tough to find on look at that. It's tough to find, not found on Google. Let's see if this is let's see. Let's see if we can use this as a DuckDuckGo example. See if my brain works right and I did see this headline. So now we're going to go to DuckDuckGo, same exact search. And the thing is, again, we're on a Google platform right now. Let's see. Same results. World reacts. What we know: U.S. sending carrier strike groups munitions, held hostage. Do I have to dive a little deeper? Was that on the Daily Mail that I saw that and I didn't bring it up? Very possible. Israel. Let's see. Israel got warning from. That's nope. Look at COVID. This is DuckDuckGo too. Raises questions over Israeli intelligence failure. No kidding. Here it is. Egyptian official. I could have swore, but again, sometimes I get it wrong. So yes. Here's that. I don't want to watch this. It's terrible. But yeah, it appears that they had. We have warned them an explosion of the situation is coming and very soon, and it would be big, said the official from Egypt, which often serves as a mediator between Israel and Hamas. But they underestimated such warnings. I don't even think they needed such warnings. Just about everything is tapped there. So you're telling me that Five Eyes and spying on everybody and that alliance didn't work. And then now Kevin McCarthy is also going to talk about the Iron Dome and why it failed. And saying that really the Iron Dome could only take out 20 missiles. I don't believe that either. And then the idea Hamas fired 5,000 missiles into... I don't know that. I'm not saying they didn't fire anything, but 5,000 seems extreme. I'm just saying these narratives don't add up at all. And I think that we're going to find out more and more and more and more. So the report to the effect that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu received a message in advance from Egypt is absolutely false. The Prime Minister's office has tweeted, no message in advance has arrived from Egypt, and the Prime Minister has neither spoken to nor met the head of Egyptian intelligence since the formation of the government, neither directly nor indirectly. Again, I don't think I think you got to stand down on the inside, and I think you got an inside man on the outside. That's just how I feel about it.
This is a combination. When I was speaking to the Speaker of the Knesset, Ohana, I was talking about it being 9/11. They're talking about it also being Pearl Harbor. Surprised.
And there's the rhetoric right there. 9/11, Pearl Harbor. 9/11, Pearl Harbor. Remember the new Pearl Harbor from the neocons? they're trying to make this into a 9/11 style event. And it's a horrific one. Like I said yesterday, it's got that like dark movie vibe, which is not good news.
On a Jewish holiday, you watch it at the number. If it's 800 Israelis, that's equivalent to 30,000 Americans. Right. And not only is it a terrorist attack, we've got to be very clear. This is the equivalency of ISIS. Hamas has to be destroyed. Right. And we have to stay strong with where we are, but we have to lead. It's concerning to me that the president put a lid. The world is collapsing around us. This is where you have to show real leadership.
There is no leadership. See, this is why Kevin McCarthy's a loser, man. This is why he didn't deserve to be speaker. He should be saying, like if he was genuine at all about any of this, which he's really not, right? He should be saying, this guy doesn't make decisions. He can't talk. The world is at war. It's very apparent he can't even come on and give a live speech about it because he's not there. Where are we as a country? But no, you can't say that on NBC News. Instead, he's going to get like a little contentious tiff with Ryan on a side issue in a moment. We're about to go to break again for the final segment of the first hour. I want you to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Remember, redvoicemedia.com uncensored, where you can support me. RVMRumble.com is where you can find the second hour for free. We're going to play some vintage military Disney videos. We're also going to show you some of the modern stuff that Disney does with the military. And that's the outward stuff. Again, because they're part of the media military industrial complex, the new techno-fascistic authoritarian state. And it helps with what? Spreading the great narrative for their agenda and pushing forward really what is a predator class, 5th generation mind control global takeover. Sorry, but that's what's going on. We're going to get a word from our sponsor, and we will be back after this.
Attention Americans, breaking news. Biden's dangerous plan for a digital dollar is underway. Don't be fooled. It won't benefit you. Take action now. The Federal Reserve phased deployment of FedNow began on July 1st, 2023. Be prepared. This may catch many off guard. Your hard-earned assets are in jeopardy. But there's a simple legal tax loophole to opt out of the digital dollar. Reach out to American Alternative Assets for a free wealth protection guide and discover how to safeguard your wealth with gold and silver IRAs against a failing dollar and volatile markets. Visit protectfrombiden.com. This invaluable guide provides precise steps to transfer your IRA or 401k into precious metals without any tax consequences. Be smart. Don't let Biden force you into using the government's new digital dollar. Visit protectfrombiden.com to get your free guide and get started. Again, that's protectfrombiden.com.
All right, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Let's get 100 thumbs up. Can we do it? Can we do it, Tubans? We're going to go back to this McCarthy video again. Second hour jam-packed. I got a bunch of stories that I didn't get to yet. We'll probably try to hit those sometime in the second hour. Sometimes we do the roundup in the beginning of the second hour. Sometimes we do it at the end of the second hour. Kind of free range. It's my show. They call it Reality Rants. All right, let's go back to McCarthy. Where are you, sir? No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it either. Nope. There he is. Boom.
Joining me on set is California Republican.
Show adults and keep your head. The first thing we do, we had 9 Americans killed, as we know. We know they're American hostages. This cannot be Afghanistan. We can't leave one American behind.
So if we're talking about leadership, though, sir, respectfully, the Republican Party, which is in the majority in the House of Representatives right now, is leaderless.
Yes.
And at this point, is there even a Republican leader in the House right now that is receiving these intelligence briefings, that is learning about
Patrick
what's happening?
McHenry, but if there's a concern, concern about...
So McHenry is essentially standing in as the Speaker of the House. I don't know much about the guy. I don't expect it to be effective. But here's the hammer and talking point that this is the big disaster. No, the big disaster is that we continue unfettered to feed the military-industrial complex, to feed the conflict in Ukraine, that arms sales and stocks are spiking, and now we have more death and turmoil in the Middle East, and the 9/11 rhetoric is back on the table. That's what's dangerous.
About being leaderless, remember why we are.
Right.
Only because of 8 Republicans and every single Democrat. They made a political decision because they thought they could win a majority if they took me off the playing field. I'm still a member of Congress.
Right.
I probably have the closest relationship with those in Israel. That's why this isn't about being speaker. This is about America leading. I want to see America do a 5-point plan. First, we've got to get our Americans back. Never leave America behind. Secondly, we have to support Israel, give them the medical supplies, but more importantly, we want to make sure we replenish them with the weaponry they need, especially when it comes to the Iron Dome. I know.
So let's start right there. Notice he comes in with medical supplies first. This is classic politician bullshit. Then the weaponry they need. Oh. Now he's going to talk about the Iron Dome. He's going to explain to all of us why the Iron Dome failed.
Well, there's a number of Democrats who voted against it. But what you're concerned about here, an Iron Dome is a defensive weapon, but it only has about 20 missiles in it. When a missile goes up, it will calculate where that missile is going to go, and it shoots up to knock it out of the sky. But what Hamas is doing is trying to overwhelm it with 5,000. And what they'll do at the beginning is send dumb rockets to see if they take out all the Iron Domes. So then they'll send the precision guide. That's why we should take an action now in the medical supplies. The third thing we should do is freeze that $6 billion, but more importantly, stop Iran from being able to produce the oil. If you watch the foreign currency reserves, in 2020, they only had $4 billion. Now they have $70 billion. They've become...
So let's stop. Once again, the type of sanctions they want on foreign countries it's insane. And I'm sorry, I'm not an Islamophobe. I don't hate Iran. I think what we did with Soleimani was wrong. I think it was wrong. And when we're talking about Iran, then you're going to get Russia involved immediately. You want to start popping off there. That's where it gets extremely dangerous. And, McCarthy knows damn well, and it actually gets discussed here, that we could turn on the power anytime and compete here and produce the power here. So it's a moot point to have to go to the Middle East for our oil and Saudi Arabia for our oil and entrench ourselves there further. It's a red herring. It's a misnomer.
Become more successful, stronger under the Biden administration. And they were only producing 400,000 barrels a day under the last administration. They're now 3 million. The sanctions are already there. They're not being enforced. We should make sure they're being enforced, and we should fill that void with American petroleum to be able to produce it here.
Okay, so this is a robust plan that you're outlining. It's effectively useless unless there is some sort of consensus within your conference to make it happen.
I don't think it's useless.
Well, but let me ask you this. The Republicans are going to meet tomorrow, and they're going to have a conversation about replacing you. Mm-hmm. Are you a candidate in that conversation?
No, I'm not a candidate. Whoever the conference picks, I'm going to support.
But if the conference chooses you, if there's been a number of moderate Republicans who have come out and said...
Not moderate Republicans. Establishment, arnis holes. That's establishment people would want this guy in there. They're the ones that play along with the insurrection game. They're the ones that sign off every single time for the National Defense Authorization Act. They're the ones that spit the rhetoric that has allowed Homeland Security, the NSA, and the Justice Department to get out of control. Out of control. So, anybody who says McCarthy should be the next guy, I want to vomit. And look, it's not like I have hopes they're going to, install somebody who's less establishment. I guess I kind of have those hopes. I don't have any illusions that's what's going to happen, unfortunately. I think that we also need to, I'll say it again, get the January 6th tapes. Get all the tapes.
that they think that you should attempt to reclaim the speakership. If that were to happen, would you accept the position?
96% of their. Let the conference decide that. The conference has to unify.
But you would have to be a player in that,
No,
wouldn't you?
I'm not going to be a player in that. The conference, because if you're going to allow 4%, eight individuals to partner with all the Democrats. Look, this is a Gates,
But that
Mace,
fundamentally isn't going to change, sir.
Well, listen, this is a Gates, a Mace, and a Pelosi trio. And they've got to decide if they want to become a majority or not. I'm a conservative who believes in governing. When we had a debt ceiling, I made sure government stayed open, but at the same time, it was the largest cut in American history.
Dude, you helped cut arms and weapons deals for Ukraine and keep the faucet on. One of the other reasons that you needed to leave. And now you're advocating for the same policy in this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And here's my fear, especially now with the Middle East, that one of the ways they're going to slip in another warmonger is through that method of saying, look at what's happening in Israel. In fact, this is another time, I'll go over this story just really quick before we go back to this. Nikki Haley's campaign raised more than $11 million in quarter three as 2024 presidential hopeful gains ground in multiple polls, showing her in second place behind Trump. Now, I told you they were leaving Ron DeSantis because it's just not working out. They love a DeSantis ticket. It's just like they loved a Jeb Bush, couldn't sell him to the American public, still haven't been able to sell DeSantis. Too much of an ingenuine politician, right? I told you Haley and Pence were next up. They really don't want the Ramaswamy. I think that he's another person. Even if he's not effective in there, his rhetoric is dangerous to them. The things that he's saying, words are danger. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. That's why information is power. All right, let's go back to McCarthy and Nobles here.
Got work requirements. We had the first chance to have NEPA reform. When the government was about to be shut down a week or so ago, think for one moment where we would be today if government was shut down. A number of our members want to do that. I said no. I made sure government was open.
Right, but sir, I understand where you're going with this.
Yes.
But none of that changes the fundamental issue here, that those 8 still exist and that there isn't a Republican that has 217 votes, which would
well,
require
we'll see.
right
They haven't been in the room yet. Give them the opportunity. Let them decide.
But you could right now officially say that you're no longer interested in the job as you did last week.
The conference, if you want to talk about that, that's not why I'm here. We're watching a war take before our eyes.
But don't you think that's an important
no, what I think is
clarity
important,
that needs to be made?
No, I think the clarity here is 3 years ago, there wasn't a war in Ukraine. 3 years ago, Israel didn't have the most Jewish individuals killed along with Americans since the Holocaust. So what I'm seeing...
So I just want to point it out. Now, this event has, in this short period of time, 6 minutes, has been equated to 9/11, Pearl Harbor, and the Holocaust. If you don't think they're trying to drive this into a global conflict and a world war, pay attention.
Right now is something that is leaderless. I have watched the president do a barbecue, tweet about things that nobody cares about.
He's not tweeting about anything. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't run anything. He can barely walk and talk. Again, they kept these meetings under wraps until after the fact about the classified documents. You understand? He's completely and totally protected right now until they want to move him along, and that comes after any possibility for real debates.
And put a lid on today when the world is looking for leadership. I laid out a 5-point plan based upon my relationships with America and Israel, understanding the importance of that. Whatever happens in speakership is fine with me, but it's not fine with me watching a world fall around me. So I want to make sure that we do something about this. The other thing we need to do as well is we need to make sure we are vulnerable at our same time. It is an intel failure in America that we didn't know this was going to happen. And what's happening on our...
I don't think there's any way that we didn't know this was going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't buy it. Am I allowed to think those things? Or is that going to be, I alluded to this earlier, is that going to be the next censorship push? The next thing you can't say? Just like there are certain aspects of Ukraine and laboratories you weren't allowed to say and you just got censored. Is this conflict going to bring more of that? Speech restrictions, thought crimes, no due process.
Southern borders. Do you realize that in 2019, there wasn't one person caught on the FBI terrorist watch list? As of today, this year, there's 151.
Right.
They're coming from 100. No, this Americans need to.
Off track.
No, we're not getting off track because this is what's happening. You just had a report where your own reporter was laying on the ground being shot at with our closest ally, the only democracy in the Middle East. And what we're having here.
Let's stop there. Now they're talking about it being a quote-unquote democracy. Look at how Netanyahu has seized power as an authoritarian. Look at what happened to the population there with the QR codes and the certificates. Look at the medical tyranny there. And you're telling me that's a democracy? No, it's an authoritarian ethno-state for the most part. You know? But it's also a huge military ally of the United States in the Middle East.
Here is a president that puts a lid on something with no idea. Right. And we're vulnerable because there could be a cell in America today for that same reason.
But you don't have any evidence of that. There's no evidence.
You know what I do have an evidence
of that?
Well, let me give you the evidence. So when I first went down to the border a number of years ago and they told me they were catching people on the terrorist watch list, this administration said I was lying. And you know what? I wasn't lying. We were true. There's 160 different countries coming across there. There's a number of people.
So let's talk about the border.
Let's talk about those who came from Yemen.
You said that you wanted to have.
Yeah, let's talk about those that came from Yemen. Because look at what we've supported in Yemen. And you call that a blowback theory, but is it being allowed to happen? We got one more commercial break. We're going to come back shortly. I'm going to tell you where you can get that second hour. It's rvmrumble.com, rvmrumble.com. Back for a moment, and then for the second hour after this word from our sponsor.
If you're like me and you want to be prepared for the unexpected,
that's where the wellness company's emergency medical kit comes
over
in.
40% of Americans say that they would avoid a doctor or a hospital unless it was a catastrophic situation.
Medical emergency kits with...
The kit contains 8 potentially life-saving medications for you to keep on hand in the event of natural disasters, supply chain shortages, medical emergencies, or like an apocalyptic situation. These are the actual medications that you would need in the event of certain situations. So they've got emergency antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics.
All right, everybody. We're going to end the McCarthy video. We are going to go to some other news stories, including Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about that border, wanting to leave it open, getting all emotional, talking about how he was a Republican. Republicans weren't sane. I'm sorry, we're still sane. We're still moderate. But I got The View is the worst, but it's on The View. It's absolutely terrible. We got some other stories, and then we're going to do the Disney war propaganda watch along, some modern stuff, as well as the old school World War II stuff, where the military literally took over Disney Studios. Everybody, let me say that again. Literally took over Disney Studios. So YouTube, you know the deal. RVMRumble.com, second hour coming out.